Flight of the Valkyries today from the Coppola movie Apocalypse Now, based upon the Joseph Conrad novel Heart of Darkness, in which the main character, Colonel Kurtz, is portrayed as a man who lost his mind. He went so far up the river, he went so far into the jungle, that he lost his way back. And, of course, that is why I am referring to this novel, the Joseph Conrad novel Heart of Darkness, and the character Colonel Kurtz, because to me, Steve Bannon is reminiscent of the Colonel Kurtz character. Welcome to the show. As you know, the big topic today, for those of you who follow actual news as opposed to fake news, is the huge, huge story of the once presidential mainstay as advisor to the president. I mean, he was as big as they come. He was more powerful than the vice president. And now Steve Bannon is quoted in a book as saying things that are unimaginable. He stabbed the president in the back. He stabbed Don Jr. in the back. And I'm going to quote some of these things from the book. And then I will read a statement from the president of the United States on Steve Bannon. This is a huge story. And for me, a doubly huge story for two reasons. One, because I met both of these men on my recent trip to Florida. Strangely enough, I had not met Steve Bannon in 10 years. And yet, he did visit me for a very brief period of time, cordially at that. He received a few copies of my book, God, Faith, and Reason, one for himself, one for his father, one for his stepmother, one for his sister, who he told me are huge fans in Richmond, Virginia. And I thought it was a cordial time. We really didn't discuss policy. It was just a courtesy call. But now I see this explosive story today, and I will tell you what I think. And I also have something special for you that no one else in the media has. Wallbanger doesn't have it. No one has it. I had Steve Bannon live on this show on the night of the election for Roy Moore. Remember that? Well, we have a piece of that interview to play because it's a history-making interview. At the outset, I have to say, this is Brutus Bannon. I cannot understand why Bannon thinks he can gain by this. And straight up, I'm not going to play the guy in the middle here. There is no middle here. Irrespective of what he may think, for him to have been quoted like this, and incidentally, these quotes are not from yesterday. This book was written a while ago that everyone's quoting from, and Bannon's range of opinions on the Trump campaign at White House, especially regarding the infamous meeting in June 16 between Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, and a Russian lawyer, is interesting because it was stated a while ago. It was not stated yesterday. So what the heck is going on? Why would Bannon kind of undermine them behind their backs? That's if this is true. You see, this is something we have to ask ourselves. We don't know who the weasel is who wrote the book. We don't know if there's any veracity to the book. I mean, I would have to assume there is, or else he would be sued to death. But I don't know that Bannon actually said the following things, such as on the Russia investigation, the book is quoting Bannon as saying, they're going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV. On the Trump Tower meeting, Bannon was alleged to have said, the three senior guys in the campaign thought it was a good idea to meet with a foreign government inside Trump Tower in the conference room on the 25th floor with no lawyers. They didn't have any lawyers. Even if you thought that this was not treasonous or unpatriotic or bad ST, and I happen to think it's all of that, you should have called the FBI immediately. On where they should have met instead, a Holiday Inn in Manchester, New Hampshire. On where the Trump team could have dumped information, Breitbart or something like that. On where special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation is headed. He said, this is all about money laundering. Mueller chose senior prosecutor Andrew Weissman first, and he is a money laundering guy. Their path to effing, did I say something? Their effing Trump goes right through Paul Manafort, Don Jr., and Jared Kushner. It's as plain as a hair on your face. On how they're going to get there. It goes through Deutsche Bank and all the Kushner S. The Kushner S is greasy. They're going to go right through that. They're going to roll those two guys up and say, play me or trade me. On the Trump team's chances to escape Mueller's probe, Bannon is quoted as saying, or having said, they're sitting on a beach trying to stop a Category 5. Now, again, I have to reiterate that I don't know if Bannon ever said these things. Do we know if he said it? Or do we know if the author made it all up out of whole cloth in order to peddle a book? Do we know that yet? No. We would assume there is some veracity to it, or else the publisher is going to be sued for everything they're worth. But unless they have it on tape, I'm not so sure we can recognize this as truth. Nevertheless, let's look into these issues today on the Savage Nation. When I first read this morning on the Drudge Report, I was stunned, actually, which was just he's claiming treason at Trump Tower. He's claiming there was money laundering. And then Trump unloads on Bannon saying he lost his mind. By the way, there's some breaking news. There's a fire at the Clinton Chappaqua house, developing story. I don't believe this. Can you believe this? A fire at Clinton's Chappaqua house, developing. This is terrible. Manafort is suing Mueller and Rosenstein and the DOJ. That's an interesting come about, isn't it? Trump ex-campaign chair, Manafort, is suing Special Counsel Robert Mueller, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, and the U.S. Department of Justice. That's astounding. He says the authority that they landed on him, meaning the actions that they landed on him by Mueller, were arbitrary, capricious, and not in accordance with the law. This is astounding what's going on right now. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to the new tax brackets. Welcome to the new IQ brackets in the United States of America. Whether you know it or not, we have new IQ brackets. 50% of the state of California has just dropped off the IQ chart entirely, being doped up by the governor of the state of California, who has legalized marijuana. And I'm going to talk about that again today